It's time for Peachy's PIF review.
Hi, it's me again. This is probably the most quick subsequential upload that I've had in a while, but here I am again, and welcome to episode 12 of PIFReview. Woo! Didn't think we'd get there, did we? But we did. Also, I was going to show you in the last video, but I completely forgot about it. My boyfriend's mum actually got me a piece of PIF memorabilia for Christmas because I told her about the channel and she watches it, and so if you're watching, hi. She actually got me this. Look at this! How amazing is it? It's a tufty handkerchief thing. Isn't that cool? It's like a piece of PIF history in my hand, so I've got it up on my little memorabilia wall here, right next to my Dumb Ways to Die poster. So today, I'm covering my favourite all-time PIFs, the top 10. So, let's kick this thing off with number 10. I think every PIF reviewer on YouTube has that kind of light switch PIF that inspires them to begin their journey on the dark and treacherous road of PIF reviewing. I've always been interested in PIFs, but this one actually inspired my English language project back in A-level. I even ended up writing a journalistic piece about shock tactics in the media and how they affect advertising. I might share that with you one of these days, actually. In the process of researching it, I actually made a lot of school friends and relatives watch a few selected PIFs. I think there was this one, Lucky, the one where the girl cracks back into place, the horrible one, Julie, and the Welsh texting and driving one called Cow, and I asked them which one was A, the most effective, and B, the more shocking one. Surprisingly, it was a tie between this one and Lucky, with Julie being a close third and Cow coming in last place. So yes, I was doing research into PIFs and their impact on the psyche and habits long before starting this channel. So that's why I've chosen this one. This is my light switch PIF. I'm curious to know what your light switch PIF is, so leave a comment below. Let's move on to number 9.
How you doing? Yeah? All right. How was school? Good girl. I'll be back soon. Sure, just a couple of days. Listen, sweetheart, can you do me a favor, huh? Can you go to the window and blow Daddy a kiss? Can you do that? I love you too.
I chose this one to be on the list because it was the first Amnesty International PIF I'd ever seen, and I signed up to join them straight away. I did the whole unsubscribe thing, and I've been a staunch campaign member ever since. I ran my own little campaigns against detainment, torture and execution by making my own little leaflets and posters while I was in school and posting them up around the halls and stuff. And some of the backlash that I received from my amateur campaigning was quite interesting. One of the girls who I used to go to school with, who absolutely hated me for whatever vapid reason they hate me for, wrote down the eye for an eye Bible quote on top of one of my posters and slipped it into my bag when I was in the library printing more of them out. I later found out that she'd taken them down and gone to the head of the sixth form complaining about it, and then got told to stop campaigning because school is no place for politics. I love that. School's no place for politics. Doesn't really explain why they don't cover like LGBT issues or anything other than pro-life arguments and religious education, or does it? I'd say that's pretty political. Anyway, I've ranted enough about my school experience. I also picked this one because I did some reading about it and found out the stuntman they got to play the detainee actually did this stress position live while they were recording. There's no camera trickery at all. The pain and the endurance of it is all there. It's very real. I really admire the actor for being so dedicated to his art, and it brings such a rawness to the overall campaign, and it's so effective. It really cuts deep. Okay, let's move on to number 8 then. This is one of those PIFs where the twist ending is actually incredibly well written and it punches you in the gut as soon as it happens. The misdirection plays on a really common kind of silly fear and then turns it entirely on its head. I'd go as far as saying that this is the single best executed twist ending in a public information film that I've seen so far. It actually makes you feel horrible for judging the lad as a potential murderer, and it really provokes thought. That's what I love about this one. Suicide awareness is also something I'm a massive advocate and campaigner for, as well as mental health services. I'd recommend everybody checks out some of these charities like Calm and gets behind them, because stigma is always something that really needs to be fought against and everyone has to stand together on that kind of thing. Not a lot really to say about this one, it just stands on its own for brilliance, so I'll go on. Let's go on to number 7.
There will come a time when the earth grows sick, and when it does, a tribe will gather from all cultures of the world who believe in deeds and not words. They will work to heal it. They will be known as warriors of the rainbow.
wow. Every single time I watch this one, it makes me feel both horrified and humbled to be a human being. It really just displays the darkest and the proudest time for the human race and for the world. I don't know if any of you guys know about MBTI personality types and tests. I will get off this tangent and onto this in a moment, but if you don't, this might not make a lot of sense. I'd encourage you to go and check it out actually, it's quite a cool test. I'll pop a link in the description. Please let me know what type of personality you are, I'm very interested in all that kind of stuff. My boyfriend's an INTJ and they're known for being quite cold, clinical, not really driven by emotions, whereas my type, INFJ, we're all about emotions and spiritual, meaningful connections. Now, one instance where I showed Alex this film, he remarked that it was the most INFJ public information film imaginable. You know, I think he's actually right. According to what I've read, the whole "there will come a time when the earth grows sick" prophecy is Native American. Everything about this PIF reads into sort of an earthly connection that's enforced by almost spiritualistic instincts of environmental protection, as well as tapping into the pure visceral horror at what humanity's already achieved in the way of destroying it. It taps into everything an INFJ feels about the earth, really, that it's absolutely fucked up, but fixing it would be an awesome thing to do. A little bit of cultural information about the man painted white with his eyes rolled back. He's actually a practitioner of the Japanese art form known as Buto dance. This particular movement, the silent scream, is very well placed in a campaign about nuclear disarmament, as the art form itself, as well as that piece, represents the initial horror of the first atomic bomb strikes against Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's very, very interesting art form. It plays a lot on kind of body expression horror, with emphasis on contortion and facial expression. I'd really recommend you check it out if it intrigues you as much as it intrigued me. So, now that I've rambled on about all of that, pause the video, go do an MBTI test, check out some Buto dance, and let me know your type. INFJs are supposedly among the rarer folk. I quite like that. I quite like being rare. So, number 6.
In South Africa, the blacks outnumber us whites by 5 to 1. But that doesn't bother us, because we've made sure that we own most of the land. We've made sure that we earn over 3 times more than they do. We've made sure they don't have enough houses and no right to vote. And we make sure they don't complain. Because if they do, tough break.
I've commented on EA Sports' big upload of this one before, saying why I enjoy watching this one, but I'll say it again. It's like a time capsule, just harkening back to an era that we hope won't be repeated. With fire safety stuff and electricity safety, water safety and all that, people are always going to screw up no matter where they are, and will need reminding not to do that kind of crap. This was basically telling an entire country to stop their systematic racism. Plenty of countries still have institutionalised racism, though nowhere near the levels of apartheid South Africa. Now, the ending of this one's quite jarring as well. The guy's Afrikaner accent adds to the almost aggressiveness of what he's trying to say because it sounds so authoritarian and authority-laden. I mean, not to mention the snooker ball flying at you and smacking the screen makes you flinch a bit. It's just interesting to look back. As apartheid ended in 1994, I was only 2 years old back then. I wouldn't have had a chance to see this on the television. Thank God, because that means that apartheid was over. And humanity willing, I won't have to see anything of its ilk in my lifetime. So, moving on to number 5.
Take care out on the street. Use your head and then your feet. Don't run out like a fool. Take your time and play it cool. If you don't stay alert, you could end up getting hurt. You gotta stop and think, then you'll be king of the road. King of the road.
90s kids, holler at me! This is incredibly deserving of the halfway spot, because it was the first PIF I saw ever. This is what kicked everything off. I mean, I don't call it my light switch like I called Live With It earlier, because it didn't get me into the whole reviewing process, although it was the first one that I ever reviewed in my first episode. But it's most definitely the very first one that I remember seeing, and it's just so cute and so precious. I also remember that when we saw this one in our school for the very first safety lesson we had, kind of thing, they gave us out a shiny keyring to clip onto your backpack that had a Day-Glow hedgehog on it. I really wish I'd kept that. That would be on the tufty handkerchief level of PIF memorabilia. I should start a PIF museum. Moving on. Not a single word said verbally, not a moment of gore, and perhaps arguably the most effective seatbelt advert ever produced, in my opinion. It brought a tear to my eye the first time that I saw it. I love the whole artistry of how this one's put together. The music's just so emotive and emotional, the imagery for what it's representing is absolutely beautiful, and just the cleverness of using the loved one's arms in the shape of a seatbelt. It's a stroke of genius. Nobody can deny that, and if you try to deny that, then step to me, because I will knock you down with logic, and you won't be wearing a seatbelt. I can't fault this one, apart from the slightly derpy expressions of the driver, who looks a bit like Graham Onions. When he's swerving off the metaphorical road, he looks a bit... we're getting into top 3 territory now, so let's start with that number 3. Everything about this is executed just perfectly in terms of horror direction. Directed by David Bailey, who's a famous name already, with music from Vangelis, who is famous already. It just combines everything about post-apocalyptic horror, aside from zombies of course, with a really bleak, washed-out palette of cinematographic storyboard work. I consider it a work of art first and foremost, and an absolute horrific feast for the eyes and ears, and a PIF second. As, well, it's not long been past the era where nuclear power had its controversial beginnings, and we're not all in little radioactive burial coffins. Also, note the year on the tombstone if you can spot it. That kid was born in the same year as me. That's how historical this PIF is. Let's move on to number 2.
Oh no, George is driving. He's too wasted. I should say something, but I could look dumb in front of Monique. Bro, Monique says you're dumb, but if he crashes, I'll have to live with his family.
Puzzle time.
And if he dies, Ghost George will haunt me forever.
Grab a chip. Want a chip?
You know I can't grab your ghost chips.
Go away.
Spoon.
Spacehead. Bro, Willie, what are you doing, bro?
Oh, I've been internalizing a really complicated situation in my head.
What are you on about?
I don't think you should drive.
Nah.
No, you're too drunk, bro. Just crash here.
Yeah, it's crash here. Okay.
Stop a mate from driving drunk. Legend.
Well, I'm internalising a really complicated review in my head, but surprisingly, my top 2 PIFs are not going to be in any way horrific. They both blend perfect elements of humour in with actually catching on with the general public. I hope you liked my little accent there. It was pretty shit. This one spawned a parody on a comedy show along with a song. I mean, how big can you get? Apparently it really caught on in New Zealand, people quoting it all the time and stuff. I know it definitely has the quotability factor. Alex and I have been known to recite the entire thing quite a lot. So it's raised the bar quite a bit in terms of something actually catching on and being recognised, and being a famous campaign for something other than horror and gore, which is quite special, although the number 1 takes this phenomena truly to the next level. That's a little hint. So, drum roll please. It's the shittiest drum roll I've ever heard, but let's run with it. Number 1.
Set fire to your hair, poke a stick at a grizzly bear, eat medicine that's out of date, use your private parts as piranha bait. Dumb ways to die, so many dumb ways to die. Dumb ways to die, so many dumb ways to die. Get your toast out with a fork, do your own electrical work, teach yourself how to fly, eat a 2-week-old unrefrigerated pie. Dumb ways to die, so many dumb ways to die. Dumb ways to die, so many dumb ways to die. Invite a psycho killer inside, scratch a drug dealer's brand new ride. Take your helmet off in outer space, use a clothes dryer as a hiding place. Dumb ways to die, so many dumb ways to die. Dumb ways to die, so many dumb ways to die. Keep a rattlesnake as a pet, sell both your kidneys on the internet. Eat a tube of super glue. I wonder, what's this red button do? Dumb ways to die, so many dumb ways to die. Dumb ways to die, so many dumb ways to die. Dress up like a moose during hunting season, disturb a nest of wasps for no good reason. Stand on the edge of a train station platform, drive around the boom gates at a level crossing, run across the tracks between the platforms. They may not rhyme, but they're quite possibly the dumbest ways to die. The dumbest ways to die. The dumbest ways to die. Be safe around trains, a message from Metro.
Dumb ways to die. So many dumb ways to die. Come on, it had to be. I covered it for God's sake. You should have seen this coming. Really though, this PIF is quite possibly the most effective PIF in all time in terms of marketing and branching outside of the actual advert itself. There's 2 apps that are extremely fun games. I have them on my phone and my iPad. They're so fun, so if you haven't checked them out, then go and do that. I have a poster on my wall next to my computer with it on, because it's certainly not every frickin' day that you find a poster in HMV for a public information film. And they've got their own little shorts going around on their own channel as well. Plus, with renowned YouTubers like PewDiePie reviewing the game, it's really hit new levels of stardom that I don't think any public information has ever received, or is likely to receive. Come on, you gotta admit it, as grisly as the numerous deaths are, these little characters are really cute. And there we go, it's my favourite PIF of all time, just because it brought PIFs into the public domain in a way that I don't think's ever going to be repeated. Right, we've reached the end of the countdown, so I'll see you in episode number 13. Unlucky 13. Let's see what kind of horrific thing I can come up with that. Bye for now.